Good morning, everybody. My name is Anthony Garcia. And I'd like to throw a little question, first of all. How many of us gone to work and we feel like this is what our boss does to us every day? Or a majority of the time, you're kind of freaked out, you don't want to go. Well, I'm here to talk about workplace violence. I kind of take it kind of seriously. I'm a business major, and I know somewhere down the line it's going to play a factor in my life. Well, and like I said, this is workplace violence, and hopefully by the end of the speech, you'll learn three things: what exactly workplace violence is, how often it happens, and a factor, hopefully a factor that goes into it, and what happens when someone's actually pushed to their limits. Well, workplace violence, according to OSHA, is violence or a threat of violence towards a worker, whether it's verbal abuse, physical assault, or even up to homicide, right? Homicide at a workplace. Well, unfortunately, that's the story for over 2 million Americans every year. So now since we have a little insight of what workplace violence is, we'll move on to how often does it actually happen. The truth of it is, it happens every day. Every day, and unfortunately, it happens underneath the grid. And unfortunately, we only get to see it once it boils over, and we get to see it on the news or see it in the papers, whatever it is. And according to a research done by the University of Iowa, they believe a factor of workplace violence has to do with the labor, and that nowadays employers are expecting a lot more for their employees, and like they like to shorthand. And Walmart's a prime example. Have you ever walked into Walmart and how do they have 30-some registers but 5 open, right? That's how they conduct business. They want to squeeze every effort out of their employees and save money, more bang for the buck. And that plays a lot of factors, right? Stress. Now you got stress with work, you got stress with home, school, kids. It all builds up. And what happens when that builds up? It's got to go somewhere. You get pushed to the limit. They get pushed to the limit, and what happens? Which brings me to the third point. Unfortunately, like I said, it builds up, and it's got to fall over somewhere. Workplace violence does not discriminate, doesn't care where you work, what you look like, the whole thing. An article by ABC News in 2009 called Workplace Horror Stories talked about a lady who was 5 months pregnant, sitting at a table at her work. And just a few feet away from it, she's seeing an employee attack his boss, pinned him up against the wall, and started landing punches on him. She described it as a violent outrage. And she didn't work at a fast food store. She didn't work at a retail. She worked in the office of a Yale medical school. So like I said, it doesn't matter where you work. It happens. And I'll take you back to August 20th, 1986. Oak Creek, Michigan. There was a man there who worked. His name was Patrick Sherrill. Good employee. The guy was nice as can be. He had about 6 months into it, he had a file about this thick, about just written up. He got wrote up for everything. His shorts were too tight. He was reading the newspaper while he was in the truck. Just little things that really didn't matter. Unfortunately, on August 20th, he had walked into the post office where he was working in fear for his job. The stress finally got to him. He walked in with 2 .45 calibers and a .22. Gunned down 10, wounded 6 more. And most people might say, he was a bad worker. And that couldn't be more further from the truth. The guy was an exceptional worker. The guy was there all time, never missed a day. Matter of fact, he knew his route like the back of his hand. He knew everybody's address. He knew their names. So he took a lot of pride into it. So it wasn't like he was a bad employee at all. But it was the fact that he was scared of losing his job. And losing your job is rated as as the top 3 things in your life, behind a divorce and a death in the family. So he felt like he was trapped, and that was the only thing he could do. He gunned down 10, wounded 6. What I didn't tell you was that he left one woman unharmed. Right? One woman, not everybody. It was later on found out that a few weeks before this incident happened, Patrick was sick. He'd been sick for a while, and this lady comes up to him and just asked him how was he doing. That was it. That was the common kindness act. How are you feeling? How are you doing today? And they believed that was the key for her survival, because she did something nice for him. Well, if there's one thing that you can take away today for me is common courtesy goes a long way. And like I said, if you see somebody down, give them a say hi, give them a smile. How are you doing today? Goes a long ways. Well, today we discussed about workplace violence, how often it happens, and what happens when the person gets pushed too far. And thank you for listening to me today.